Hello. We will now be reading Genesis chapter 23. And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kirjatharba, the same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead, and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my lord, thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres bury the dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. And he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me, and entreat for me to Ephram the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he hath, which is in the end of his field. For as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for a possession of a burying place amongst you. And Ephraim dwelt among the children of Heth. And Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went in at the gate of his city, saying, Nay, my lord, hear me. The field give I thee, and the cave that is therein I give it thee. In the presence of the sons of my people give I it thee. Bury thy dead. And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land, and he spake unto Ephraim in the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me, I will give thee money for the field. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, My lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that betwixt me and thee? Bury therefore thy dead. And Abraham hearkened unto Ephron. And Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver, which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant. In the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field, and the cave, which was therein, and all the trees that were in the field, that were in all the borders round about, were made sure unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in at the gate of his city. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah, before Mamre, the same as Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And the field, and the cave that is therein, were made sure unto Abraham for a possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth. Summarizing chapter 23, Sarah dies at age 127 in Canaan in the territory of Hebron. In 23 verse 2, Abraham mourned and wept for Sarah, and this is a different response than when Hagar and Ishmael were sent away in chapter 21 verse 12. It says that Abraham was grievous, but the Bible didn't mention that he wept or mourned. It wasn't quite the same. He felt something different for Sarah, which makes sense. She's been with him, since he left Hebron and went to Egypt. She was the reason for his wealth. So Abraham asked the children of Heth to purchase a specific burial plot. And the reason why, in verse 4, to bury Sarah out of his sight. In chapter 23, verse 10, the name Ephron is mentioned, Ephram the Hittite. And the Hittite and the children of Heth, or the Hittites and the children of Heth, are the same group of people. I had to find that out through a Google search, but confirmed that through the Bible. So Heth is Noah's great-grandson, and that's found in chapter 10, verse 15. And the Hittites are Noah's descendants. The children of Heth are the same thing as the Hittites. In chapter 23, verse 10, it says here, Ephron dwelt among the children of the Hittite. And then in the next sentence, it calls Ephron the Hittite. Because the burial plot that Abraham wanted was on Ephron's land, that's why he's being brought up here, because it's his land. Abraham has to go through him to get permission. So in verse 11, Ephron says, in the presence, he gave Abraham permission to any land that he wanted to bury Sarah in. And he says in verse 11, in the presence of the sons of my people. So he was doing this in front of his people. And if in chapter 23, verse 10, he's Ephron the Hittite, then his people are the Hittites. So the children of Heth are the Hittites. And verse 11 is the best connection. The reason why this is significant is because the Hittites are the descendants of Noah through Ham, and Abraham is Noah's descendant through Shem in chapter 11, verse 26. So these are all Noah's descendants, but from two different brothers. Ephron asked Abraham for 400 pieces of silver for the burial plot, which Abraham paid. And then I just want to reemphasize that Abraham was a rich man. And God doesn't have a problem with Christians being rich at all, because you can do more when you have money in this world. But in verse 6, Abraham is considered a mighty prince among the Hittites, so money was not an issue. Just want to point that out again. Verse 17, the plot was in Ephron's field, which it mentioned again, and then verse 18 through 20, Abraham buried Sarah there. A lot of time was spent on Sarah in the book of Genesis, and the other women mentioned so far that are mentioned, in more than just one chapter. We have Eve, who was seduced by the serpent, causing chaos. We have the daughters of men, who bore children and became wives to the sons of God. And that caused evil so great that there was a flood. Then we have Milcah, who had 8 children. Her husband Nahor had a concubine, Reumah, and she had 4 children. So this illustrates 3 different types of women that we can choose to be. Women have powerful options. We can make godly choices like Sarah and receive blessings from God, preserve our beauty, and leave behind a valuable legacy. Sarah is one of the most popular biblical names for women. Eve is not mentioned. Eve is not a name that is given for a female. It's not as popular as a name, and that could be attributed to the fact that her story she didn't have a good legacy in the Bible. The daughters of men aren't even specified by name because they cause chaos. And then we have Milcah, who was a wife and mother. She had Reumah as a concubine to her husband, and they both had 12 children for Nahor, Milcah's husband. So that's an option that women can have, where wife and mother is the legacy that you leave behind. We can allow our choices to be influenced by the enemy and produce chaos, which leaves behind a legacy of shame. The daughters of men and Eve are not mentioned favorably, not like Sarah was. Satan can bless people too. Earthly possessions alone should not be seen as proof of God's favor. In chapter 14, verse 23, Abraham had the opportunity to attain more wealth through the spoils of war when he rescued Lot, and there was that war with the kings. But in chapter 14, verse 21, the king of Sodom took captives. So a king with status took things that weren't his to attain wealth. So having a status does not mean that people with status don't take things that aren't there to secure wealth, but the actual acquiring wealth does not only come from honest intentions. It can also come from malicious efforts. Another big thing, do not rush childbirth. Only listen to God about childbirth. Sarah was deemed barren in chapter 11, verse 30, but there is no limit, there is no parameter on what God can do. She had her only child and nursed him when she was 90. Satan answers with a response, but God provides a full solution which resolves the issue without creating more. Sarah was desperate, and Sarah didn't think God heard her, so she introduced Hagar, who began to disrespect her once she saw she could do something that Sarah couldn't do for her husband. And that produced more issues. But when she waited for God's solution and she was able to birth her own child, she had no additional issue after that. Which leads into number 3. Do not be a Hagar. Don't go around messing with married men. Twice Hagar was sent to the wilderness without any provision. And the second time she got one bottle of water and bread and took her child and had to go. She did not have access to the inheritance that Abraham had. Also, don't be willing to bring other women into your marriage. In chapter 16, verse 5, again, once Hagar saw she could do something for Abraham that Sarah couldn't do, she began to disrespect Sarah. And the relationship was most likely contentious after that if Sarah was so willing to just throw her out. Milcah and Reumah, they didn't seem to have a contentious relationship. Reumah had 4 children for Nahor. Wait on a solution from God instead of getting an answer from Satan. God will resolve the issue. Number 4, don't lose pride in your appearance. In chapter 12, verse 11, Sarah received financial opportunity at age 65 based on her looks. Her looks is what attracted the attention. But beauty is more than skin deep. That's what got her, or that is what actually helped her get the blessing. You have to think about it. These are kings. These are kings with unlimited resources. They have access to any type of woman that they're interested in. Any color, any build, they have access to that. So in addition to being physically attractive to catch the man's eye, she also had to have some beauty on the inside, a personality that kept a man's attention, enough to make him want to give her so much money and wealth and cattle and servants that it lasted them the rest of their life. We're also going to see in the book of Esther how a beautiful woman with a thorough personality, not using gimmicks, not trying to manipulate a man with her sexuality, how she can secure an opportunity with a powerful man as well. So men are in charge. Even godly men are men. And in order to establish a cooperative relationship with them, we have to appeal to their nature of being physically attractive. I appreciate you listening to me and reading to this far, and we will move on to chapter 24. Have a good day.